you.
As the war in Iran continues, students at the U are sharing their feelings and opinions.
It's not just war and oil. We're people, right? We don't all live in, deserts.
And after announcements that Operation Metro Surge is ending, crowds gathered during International Women's Day to protest ICE.
Native women, Hmong women, Latinas.
And here in Barcelona, I looked for a certain perspective from Minnesotans studying abroad for the semester.
After all of our March snow, when will spring be back? All that and more coming up on University Report.
Good morning and welcome to University Report. I'm Lucas Kirchner.
And I'm Ahmed Hassan. Let's get started. It's been 2 weeks now since Israel and the U.S. started a war with Iran that has killed more than 1,300 civilians in Iran, according to the New York Times. I talked with Minnesota Iranians to get their perspectives on the war.
War is never easy, but for Iranians living in Minnesota, it's a feeling that words can't begin to describe.
Upset but hopeful.
Heartbreak, absolute heartbreak.
The last time Kian Gobadi was in Iran was 6 years ago. His father grew up in Iran, but moved to the U.S. after the revolution in 1979.
Yeah, this is my dad's village.
At first, Kian was happy to see that Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei had been killed.
That fleeting happiness only lasted a day or two, because the reality is this war is here. War has returned to Iran.
While Kian says he wants to see regime change, he doesn't believe war is the way to solve it.
I feel like two things can be true at once. That, this regime is horrible and we hate them. And also, war will not bring any good for us.
Sadr Golzadian's family is from Tehran.
It definitely doesn't ease the pain. It just like the shock, maybe. You don't feel shock. But in terms of the pain, it's the blood of your people being spilled.
Sadra was last in Iran in 2018 and says many people are misinformed due to propaganda.
It's not just war and oil. We're people, right? We don't all live in, deserts. When you see that there's bombs being dropped on Iran, it's not being dropped on Iran. It's being dropped on Iranian people.
University of Minnesota professor Seema Shakhsari grew up in Tehran and lived there until she was 20. She hasn't gone back because it's unsafe for her as an openly queer person. Her family still lives in Tehran.
My niece in Iran, who was at the hospital, sent me a telegram text and said they attacked.
Seema says if a regime change happens in Iran, then
it has to be decided by the majority of 90 million people in Iran, and not by the monarchists who are sitting outside of Iran.
Minnesota is home to almost 4,000 Iranians, according to 2024 data from the World Population Review.
Mothers, daughters, grandmas, and more gathered at Powderhorn Park for the International Women's Day March on the 8th. The march was hosted by Minnesota Immigrant Rights Action Committee, known as MIRAC, and the Minnesota Abortion Action Committee. Featured speakers calling out ICE operations, including Nakima Levy Armstrong, one of the protesters charged for entering a St. Paul church back in January.
That we love our neighbors as we love ourselves. We will not be silenced. We will not back up. But who had to back up? ICE and the federal government. They had to back up.
Imagine watching all the news from the past couple of months as a Minnesotan traveling overseas. Well, reporter Joe Larson spent the last week in Barcelona, where she went looking for perspectives on the news here from Minnesotans in Spain.
December through February in the Twin Cities saw Operation Metro Surge after Donald Trump focused his deportation efforts on Minnesota, sending ICE into the state. And the University of Minnesota saw this firsthand, with campus reducing in-person classes and students and faculty fearing for their safety. Devin Zaromsky said she needed to get involved directly and protest the ICE presence.
When we have plenty of students whose family and friends are being taken by these ICE agents out of the street, so how are they supposed to turn to their friends and family? And it feels like the U is doing close to nothing to protect their students, international and otherwise.
Hundreds of students like Devin participated in protests on and around campus, including the month-long nightly noise demonstration outside of Campus Hotel The Graduate, where ICE agents were allegedly staying.
4,000 miles from that campus, I talked to University of Minnesota students studying abroad throughout all of Operation Metro Surge, getting their thoughts and feelings about how it was watching the social unrest on their campus and in their city from afar. Here's what they had to say.
It's interesting. You get a wide array of what you hear. And
many students said they didn't think about the operation in their home city because its negativity didn't affect them abroad, or they didn't have time to focus on it while traveling on weekends. 2 specifically disagreed.
I think that, being from Minnesota and living in Minnesota, it's important to stay updated with what's happening. And I mean, over here is fun, it's a vacation, but this isn't where my life is, so.
When we go and talk to people, they're like, oh, you're from the US, and if they're somewhat familiar with the states, usually they're asking California, Texas, and then Minnesota, because I think they just hear it in the news so much right now.
Students also said they stayed more in contact with those in the Twin Cities throughout Operation Metro Surge, checking in and worried about their safety from afar. Joe Larson, University Report.
A full semester abroad is the most common program for these students, so they'll be coming back to life in the Twin Cities in May.
Up next on University Report, Minneapolis' annual St. Paddy's Day Parade and our 5-day forecast. We'll be right back.
Because it was there. Because determination overcame distance.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
Because the unsolvable was invitation enough. Why are we driven to discover? Because we can change the course of history. Because tomorrow's visionaries need focus today. At the University of Minnesota, with each student comes an opportunity to set their sights higher and to show them the way, so our graduates can shape the future and fulfill the dreams they haven't yet dreamt. Because renewable energy can sustain us all. Our students envision the sun powering homes on every block, wind-blown ideas launching entirely new economies, and fertile soils fueling cars and people alike, protecting the harmony between humanity and nature. Because self-expression can move 1,000 souls. Be it a song or a dance, a canvas or a poem, the arts are vital to the U of M experience, as are self-discovery and moments of sheer amazement. Because cancer can be conquered by targeting medicines, customizing treatments, and transplanting stem cells, incurable cancers can become survivable. Terminal can be redefined as treatable, and optimism can spread once again. Because human rights need champions. From classrooms in Minnesota to courtrooms in Uganda, assembling a collective voice for change allows dignity to return and extends human rights across the globe. Because clean water ensures quality of life. It's essential to the health of all nations, so we're studying models and molecules. We are committed to making clean water flow freely, from the headwaters of the Mississippi to the slums of Mumbai. We share the belief that anything is possible, because at the University of Minnesota, discoveries unfold, breakthroughs happen, and history is forever changed.
The 2026 undergraduate student government election results are in. Fatima Aden and Izan Rana were named USG's next president and vice president. The duo says they plan to address 4 issues they say undergrads face, including public safety, affordability, representation, and student group support.
St. Patrick's Day was yesterday. To celebrate, the city of Minneapolis held its annual St. Paddy's Day parade last Saturday. Before several inches of snow covered the city, people gathered along Nicollet Mall wearing some of the green it seems they could find. The parade marched down the street and featured the city's construction workers, sanitary workers, fire department, and more. And Joe is back from Spain, here to talk with us about the weather. Now, last week I was outside enjoying it, and just the other day my neighbors were having a snowball fight. Tell me about what's going on with the weather.
Yeah, it's all kind of been a shock to my system coming back from abroad, and like anybody who had to travel over the weekend, I did spend some time stranded. But it's going to be a lot different moving into this week, it looks like. The Twin Cities got almost a foot of snow this weekend, with more of that south of the cities, and Minnesotans got to work cleaning up the wintry mess. The weather caused many workplaces to close over the weekend and made travel very difficult. As I said before, I was supposed to leave on Sunday, didn't leave till Tuesday, lots of people in the same boat. Sunny skies followed the storm, however, and snowmen were abundant across our campus. But it looks like they won't be lasting much longer, because here's what we can expect for the next 5 days. After weekend weather that shocked my system, like I said, today seems much more pleasant with a return to normal temperatures after the snow showers ended late last night, with a high of 43 degrees and a low of 32. Stay careful outside this week because it looks like all the snow is going to leave us behind, and tomorrow should stay much warmer. Partly sunny, with temperatures moving up just a few degrees as well. Into the weekend, Friday will give us a high of 52 degrees and a low of 37, and Saturday keeps that warm upward trend going, with highs reaching up to 60 degrees. Sunday is going to cool us back down just a bit, with temperatures dropping as low as 35. Even with all that coming up, I'm not sure that it's going to stick around, but it looks promising this week.
Well, thank you, Joe. Hopefully that warm-up does continue for us.
Coming up, how a high school hockey tournament brought business back to St. Paul after Operation Metro Surge, and Gophers women's basketball make it to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2018.
We're all about water in Minnesota. I've been here approaching 50 years. Originally, the biggest problem we had is algae bloom from the sewage in the lake. And now we got the zebra mussels, and that's been a major negative.
Zebra mussels are an aquatic invasive species. They impact the food webs within lakes, which impact fish populations, growth, occurrence, and especially in Minnesota, where so much of our recreation is lake-based, that impacts those local businesses, different tourism around the state. Zebra mussels were first found in the Great Lakes back in 1986, and since then they have spread throughout much of Minnesota. People love clear water, but that's not necessarily good. That means that conditions are different for the plants, for the fish, for everything in the lake. This project out on Lake Minnetonka is looking at a copper-based product called EarthTech QZ. We are hoping that this will give us ideally some solutions for controlling zebra mussel populations. This project is largely a partnership between the University of Minnesota, specifically MASERC, the Minnesota Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center, and the U.S. Geological Survey.
It is very much a team effort. Even the marina owner that has graciously allowed us to use their area for staging our equipment and supplies. So without the cooperation of all those different partners, it would be impossible to do a study of this nature.
There are a lot of infrastructure and businesses existing relying on the lake. It's not only the marinas, it's everybody around Lake Minnetonka will suffer subsequently.
Well, the zebra mussels over on the east end of the lake make it clear. It looks like an aquarium over there. So during the daytime, it's kind of tough to fish.
Zebra mussels affect our boats by getting to the motors. They affect the beaches. They get on the rocks. People step on them, cut their feet. So it just makes it less desirable to use the lake. And as a business that's in a lake community, that affects us.
This project is specific to Lake Minnetonka, but we're hoping that this type of treatment will be able to be repeated on different lakes. The University of Minnesota's Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center is one of a kind. It's the only one like it in the country. And the work that we're doing is protecting Minnesota's lakes.
The University of Minnesota is absolutely essential in this matter. and it's a profoundly positive experience for us to be part of it.
This year, a record number of hockey fans attended the state tournament in St. Paul, and I went out and found out what that means for the city.
There aren't many things in the country like high school hockey in Minnesota, whether it's the iconic hairstyles, game-winning goals, or celebrations. Fans from across the state flocked to Grand Casino Arena in St. Paul to watch the state tournament, from state champion Moorhead to a nearby suburb like Lincoln South. And when fans come, so does business.
When they get here, they're looking for places to eat in between games, before games, after games, and they're also looking at places to, drink and hang out and, do things that really help benefit the resurgence of, should I say, the economy for downtown.
This year's tournament set a record with 140,846 attendees across the weekend. And that came at a crucial time. After Operation Metro Surge, small businesses in St. Paul, like Rum Mitt, lost $129 million.
Back in August of last year, 2 of our employees were detained and have now been sent back to Ecuador. With that going on, we noticed like a huge loss.
With Grand Casino Arena nearby, the hockey tournament is usually a big event for them.
This time around, I was really hoping that, business would pick up.
Lloyd said the tournament helps, but there isn't a set solution to the damage from Metro Surge. The state tournament proved what the community can do, and that the only way to build out of Metro Surge is together.
We need you. Rum Mitt means togetherness, gathering, and we really stand behind that. We invite people to come in and gather and, enjoy our, comfort food.
If you want to learn more about Rum Mitt and St. Paul business, we linked both of their websites on ours at z.umn.edu/University Report.
Gopher Women's Basketball will be hosting this year's NCAA tournament for the first time since 2005. This is also the first time in 7 years the team will be competing in the tournament. The Gophers will face off against Wisconsin Green Bay in the first round at Williams Arena Friday. Could a bill to erect a Charlie Kirk Memorial statue on campus actually pass? And reporter Atticus Morris takes us inside a new Dinkytown vintage store. That's after the break.
Because it was there. Because determination overcame distance.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
Because the unsolvable was invitation enough. Why are we driven to discover? Because we can change the course of history. Because tomorrow's visionaries need focus today. At the University of Minnesota, with each student comes an opportunity to set their sights higher and to show them the way, so our graduates can shape the future and fulfill the dreams they haven't yet dreamt. Because renewable energy can sustain us all. Our students envision the sun powering homes on every block, wind-blown ideas launching entirely new economies, and fertile soils fueling cars and people alike, protecting the harmony between humanity and nature. Because self-expression can move 1,000 souls. Be it a song or a dance, a canvas or a poem, the arts are vital to the U of M experience, as are self-discovery and moments of sheer amazement. Because cancer can be conquered by targeting medicines, customizing treatments, and transplanting stem cells, incurable cancers can become survivable. Terminal can be redefined as treatable, and optimism can spread once again. Because human rights need champions. From classrooms in Minnesota to courtrooms in Uganda, assembling a collective voice for change allows dignity to return and extends human rights across the globe. Because clean water ensures quality of life. It's essential to the health of all nations, so we're studying models and molecules. We are committed to making clean water flow freely, from the headwaters of the Mississippi to the slums of Mumbai. We share the belief that anything is possible, because at the University of Minnesota, discoveries unfold, breakthroughs happen, and history is forever changed.
Five Republican state senators recently introduced a bill that proposes to build a statue of the late conservative influencer Charlie Kirk on the University of Minnesota campus. The bill would give the university $25,000 from the state's Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund to design a statue of Kirk. Kirk, who was the leader of Turning Point USA, was assassinated the week before he was scheduled to speak at the University of Minnesota. No specific location for the statue was proposed, and students have their own thoughts on it.
I find it very odd. Charlie Kirk, to my knowledge, does not really even have a real connection with the University of Minnesota. And politics aside, that seems like a waste of money to spend building a statue of someone who wouldn't have a connection to our university.
I think that that money could be put towards the students, and that would be a much better cause.
The DFL party has a one-seat majority in the state Senate, so the Kirk statue bill is unlikely to be passed anytime soon.
And a new vintage store is opened up in Dinkytown. It's only the third retailer in that neighborhood that sells clothing, but the owner doesn't want clothing to be the store's only focus. Atticus Marsh joins us live outside the store to tell us more about what the space offers.
The store is called Clothing for Naked People. I'm here on 14th Avenue between 4th and 5th Street, and a couple of days ago, after the store opened, I went inside and checked it out. Clothing for Naked People has more than just clothes.
We have 3 really friendly gray cats to come see.
Mitch Kalka is the owner of Dinkytown's newest and one of its only clothing stores.
Got a lead in a place that wasn't on market yet in Dinkytown, and why would you say no?
The store is located on the lower floor of a building on 14th Street in a somewhat unconventional space.
The vibe and everything, it's amazing, and the fact that people can study here too, I think that's amazing.
The vibes are really chill. It's very kind of retro-y, vintage. Yeah, I really like the vibe. It's calm.
Beyond the vibes, it is still a vintage store, selling older used clothing, jewelry, and shoes.
The style of vintage clothing, it's really different of the clothing that we have today.
I don't like buying stuff now because it's so expensive, so vintage is just the cheapest and kind of the coolest thing to do. I'd rather just reuse.
The prices of their items are higher than a thrift store like Goodwill, but the items are more rare and sought after. Kalka sources his clothes from a charity called Joseph's Coat.
Anytime somebody makes a purchase here, 50% goes straight to them.
Kalka hopes that this place can be a study area and a good hangout space for students to work and relax in a place with a different vibe than other spots around campus.
Just so many young, intelligent, friendly, cool young people hanging out, so it's been really great.
The store's hours are Wednesday through Sunday from 12 to 7 p.m. I asked Mitch about the significance of the name, and he told me that naked people, well, they need clothes. Lucas, I also saw some pretty cool sportswear in there that I think you'd like.
You know, I might have to check that out. I do like my Green Bay Packers, but I don't think I'm going to show up naked. Thank you, Atticus, and that's our show. I'm Lucas Kirchner.
And I'm Ahmed Hassan. Thank you for tuning in to University Report.